Hey everyone. So I just passed my final CPA exam. Took it in September and found out the score last week. And I just thought I would go through and say how I did it, just in case you're looking for some words of encouragement. Um, it was by far the most daunting thing that I've ever done, the most challenging thing I've ever accomplished. Um, Mainly because I was working full time. I am still working full time, but while doing this, and unfortunately, work requested it. Obviously, they wanted me to pass it. I have no reason to do it otherwise. I'm not a public accountant. I won't be doing anything in public practice. So this is just a resume builder and to show that I guess I could do the work, learn the stuff, and I think it looks better to have a workforce full of CPAs. But regardless, um, yeah. So you can see right there that I passed all four. Reg was the one that I took first, so it was my worst score. I took BEC second, which was actually my best score. Um, and I'm recording this in vertical because I know YouTube likes doing those stories things now. But we'll see. Everybody watches on their phone, anyways, right? So I took BEC second, and that was a little bit lucky because I didn't change my study method for that one. I was a corporate finance major, um, which probably explains why I did well on BEC without going as in depth as I did for FAR and audit, um, because it's a lot more of what I actually did. In college, I was a minor in accounting with a degree in finance. Which brings me to my point of why FAR was the hardest. So after BEC, I took FAR. There was a lot going on in my life at the time. In work, I had been given a new position at the same time that I was planning on taking FAR, and I was also year end. So it was kind of this perfect storm of things that went wrong. But I got a 62 on it the first attempt. That was a little bit of a shocker because I still think I studied a fair amount. I studied, well over 100 hours, probably 150 hours for it, like I did for Reg and BEC. Reg, maybe not BEC, probably 90 hours or 100 hours of BEC. But I had passed those prior to, so I thought, oh, maybe this isn't that hard. Well, it was, and FAR is very hard. So then after I failed FAR, I actually booked FAR and audit on the same NTS. I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you're really strapped for money. I don't know why I did it because my company was paying for it, so I should have just done them separately. But because I had them on the same NTS, I had to take audit next. I couldn't immediately study for FAR and retake it. Because the NTS for audit would have expired. I guess I could have, but it would have been literally out $300 or $350 for no reason. So I decided to leave FAR behind and then go study for audit. I got an 84 on audit, and I studied my ass off for that. Audit was totally foreign to me. I don't even think I ever took an audit class in college, so I was basically learning all the material for the first time. I'm not an auditor. But the good news is that you can learn it. I thought I probably studied 200 hours for audit, maybe a little more if you want to count all of the, like, any various reviewing that you can do in time. But I aced. I don't think I aced, but like I did very well in the Becker exams. So I was like, I left that thinking I failed, and I was gonna be pissed. I was gonna say, there's no way. And that's really the other thing where don't even bother thinking about how you did on the exam, because every one of these exams I took, and I took 5 because I took FAR twice, every one I left thinking I failed. There's nothing at no point did I think I passed any of these. And I did. I passed 4 of the 5, obviously, and I passed 3 of them on the first try. And even my FAR retake, which I got an 87 on, I thought I failed. So don't put any stock in that. You can check early if you've taken separate. If you've taken a prior exam, you can check early. with the eyeball trick, 1 or 2 days early, maybe. But otherwise, don't beat yourself up over it because you'll never know. I mean, it's just impossible to tell. I mean, maybe if you thought you did well, you actually did bad because the exams get progressively harder. So, anyways, and then FAR was my last exam that I took just recently and passed. I studied 300 hours for this, all in, because I was up against the clock. So if you don't know yet, if you haven't started the whole process, you get 18 months, to take all 4 exams and pass them. If you don't pass them during that period, 18 months from the first pass date. So like say, in my case, my 18 months would have been up on January 20th next year, 2021, if you're watching this in the future. So I was up against the clock when I took FAR, and I was hell bent on passing it. I mean, obviously you are with all of these ones. You're going to seriously try and pass this. You know, you have to really be dedicated. But I overstudied for FAR because the thought of failing FAR for a second time, having to take it possibly 3 or more times, would have been gut wrenching, soul killing, and I don't know how I would have reacted to that. I was preparing for a fail, like I said, you always do because you think you fail every exam, but that would have been a dark day. So luckily I didn't. I did pass it, and I keep thinking of how much of a difference that refresh would have made if I had gone the other way. I wouldn't be talking to you right now, that's for sure. I'd been still digging into this, studying, probably buying another review program too, because it would have obviously not been a thing that worked. So speaking of review courses, let's go and let me show you what Becker looks like. And I use Becker. My work paid for it, which is very nice. I mean, I think it's an expensive course. I have the most expensive. It's unlimited. Came with flashcards. Came with the final review. Definitely recommend it. Unlimited access on the website, and all 4 textbooks. Now, I ordered them as I went, so I would definitely recommend doing that because they change all the time. So this book changes. It just changed again. Or it's just changing at the end of December, or the end of this year. So, don't order all 4 books at once because they're going to be out of date unless you're going to pass them all within 6 months, which is very difficult, but probably doable if you don't have a job. I would definitely hold off and order them when you're ready to start studying for them, because they change and they ship them pretty quickly. They might be back ordered now. I saw on the internet people said that was the case, but for me, I think you order it and about a week later you get it. They'll send you all the, if you could do the flashcards, they'll send you all the flashcards at one time. So, in all honesty, I used the flashcards for REG and BEC, used them for FAR on the first one, which I failed. Didn't use it for audit, didn't use it for the second FAR. I think they're actually negatives, so I would not recommend bothering. I think it's better for you to take your own copious notes that make sense to you rather than just going off what they have on the flashcards, because the flashcards, they'll teach you if they happen to give you a question that's specifically termed the way on the flashcard, but you're never going to find a question like that, so it's not even worth your time, in my opinion. I made flashcards, but I didn't even make the kind that you flip over. I literally just put the facts on, and that's what I'd recommend doing. Obviously, if you're a flashcard type of person, do what works best for you. They are here as well on the website, so you can do flashcards on the website or on the app. Click to flip. So there you go. So you don't need to even buy the physical ones. I'm not sure if there's included with everybody and the physical ones are extra. I'm guessing so. But whatever it was, I had the physical ones. So then here's what I was saying about my study method didn't change. So you can see right here, this is business here and regulation here. So I pretty much did regulation first. I did 100% of the lectures. They have updated them, so they lost 100%, but did 100% of the lectures for everything. And actually, with FAR, I did it twice because I literally restudied, started from scratch, did absolutely everything over again. But you can see I didn't do all the skills practices, I didn't do all of the multiple choices, and I did very little sims on my first 2 attempts on Reg and BEC. I passed those exams, so I was building bad habits. Especially because I took Reg first, got a 7.8, and then got a 92 on BEC. So I thought, oh, this is more than enough. I don't even know what I did on the practice exam. So Reg, I took 1 practice exam and got a 52. So I might have been a little lucky that I passed it. This is, I not recommend something that you would do that. At 67% on multiple choice. That's about okay. That's what you want to get. I don't even know if I tried on the simulations, or I might have not paid attention to a question or two, and there were ones where you probably should have left them blank and you got a 0, and I put zeros instead. So that might be not a real score. I might have just made a stupid bonehead error as the first time I've ever taken a simulated exam. But the Becker bump is a real thing. So if you can get into the high 60s, there's a very good chance that you'll pass. That seems to be what everybody says on the internet too. And it has been my experience. So you can see right here. So on BEC, same thing, very little sims. Simulated exam I only took 1 of, got a 64% and passed the exam with no problem. So Becker bump definitely real. And BEC, you benefit from the written portion. So if you follow Becker and they say, they'll say use these buzzwords, and they'll say restate the question, which is crucial. So make sure your punctuation is correct, your grammar is correct, restate the question. Any buzzwords that they give you, restate them, because it's computer graded for the most part. So you can pass it if you don't know the answer to the question. If you format your response correctly, you can pass that question. I mean, I know for a fact one of my written questions was total nonsense, like my answer to it. So, I mean, it's possible that that's where I lost the 8 points. I mean, it's not 92%, it's 92 points. So it's possible that's why, but I still got a 92. So, and the written portion is, I don't know if it's 50%, but it's a big portion. So as a sim, so I would say that it's more important to focus on what Becker tells you when doing the written portion of BC. But so you can see though, my method of studying was not the best for the first 2 I took. Then I took FAR. You can't see it because I wiped it out and redid it all. But I did the same thing with FAR the first exam. Only took 1. I got around a 50 something on it and said, well, that worked for Reg, so it'll probably work for FAR. And I was wrong. I had the same thing with all this. Like, I did probably 50% of the skills, 50% of multiple choices, even less of the sims, because the sims take forever. So do the multiple choices in FAR, and especially in audit. They take a long time. So you get a little worn down. But you can see the second time I did it, so I went back and I did everything. This was almost 100%. Audit was 100%. There was one, I think it was right here, I just didn't do. There was one sim that I was going through and I was just like, I can't do this. So I just gave up. Or it was like, it was the same question that I had just done, and it was a 20-minute sim. So I said, all right, I can't. So that was the only thing I didn't do though in all of FAR the second time. Like I said, they updated a couple things. I'm not sure where okay, so it's on the multiple choice. They added a couple multiple choices after I went through, so that's why it's not showing 100% for everything but this one here. But I did all 3 simulated exams, and that started with audit because I did audit first before the retake. But I did all 3 simulated exams. You see, kind of varied at a 91, 68, 75. So I thought it was within the realm of a passing score based on audit, which is what I took after failing FAR the first time. So you can see I actually did this one. It was much shorter, so it's a lot easier to really get to know the material. But I mean, you can see I did successively better on the test. I got a 98 on this final practice again. But again, I did all 3, and that was the key. I can't tell you how many times throughout my studying for all of these exams, I thought I was getting so mad at Becker and like, why are they making me do this? You know, what is this? How is this going to help me? And even on the exam too. On the exam, I was sitting there going, "You didn't talk about this. This isn't something you taught me." And that was true. There were a couple things that were totally foreign to me, and unless I really just didn't pick up on it, they didn't mention them. And I think that the latter is the case. They didn't mention them because 2 times I had that. On the first and the retake, but on the second one they had it, or they didn't go into enough, or they didn't go into enough depth that it was enough for me to answer the question. But the results speak for themselves. So what I have to say is, if you have a review course, in my case Becker, trust it. So trust in Becker. Do what they tell you to do. The other thing I changed, which was they'd always recommended to do, but I said no. I mean, I'll be fine the other way. So when I started with reg audit and then reg BEC and the first FAR take, I would go through do the lectures, and then I'd go back and do the multiple choices when I had time, and the simulations when I had time. That didn't work. I started doing what they told me to do, which was going back. You do the lecture, you do the multiple choice at the same time, you do the sim at the same time, you do the skills practice at the same time. Do them section by section. Don't just go through and do all of the lectures and then go back and do the sims and multiple choices, because you're not going to remember. It's going to take you a lot longer to go through the multiple choices. When I was studying for Reg and BEC, the multiple choices were like a test every time I was doing it, because I had waited so long to go back and do them. But when I did it the first time, or when I did it for FAR and audit on the retake, and then audit the first time, I did it the way they suggested, and I found that I was getting, 95 to 97% on all the multiple choices when I was taking them the first time through. So it made it a lot quicker to go through and actually do them. And I don't know if you're a person like me, but it mattered to me getting 100%. It mattered to me getting, I felt like I needed to get that. I needed to get that Becker promise. In my case, I don't think it would have made a difference because I didn't pay for the course anyways. But what that is it lets Becker will reimburse you if you get that Becker promise, if you can't pass the exam. There's, terms and conditions. I'm sure there's some sort of exclusion because it's expensive. But regardless, though, that's what I would definitely recommend. Follow what they say, which is go through and do everything one at a time. So you're going to do FAR 1, Module 1, complete that, then move to FAR 1, Module 2. Do not just do the lectures and then go back and do it. That didn't work for me, and like I said, I think I got lucky on BEC Ors because it was my major was. We can see even a 78, everybody's like, oh, you need a 75. Anything more than that's just you're overstudying or you're an overachiever. I think that if you cut it that close, though, doing it the way I studied for Reg, I think I was probably one or two questions away from getting a failing grade. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered as much to me since it was my first exam, and I thought I failed anyways. But really what adds the stress is the time, the ticking clock. So that 18-month window, especially if you do it the way I did it, which was I was not going to rush. I gave myself 3 months to pass each test. So I expected to fail 1 or 2 of these. And I want to make sure that I wouldn't, just go in there and keep wasting my money and time by failing them. So I built in enough time to fail potentially 2 of them, because I was going to do have all 4 of them done within a year, which I did. And in my case, I failed FAR, so I actually had to take that again. COVID struck, and that actually screwed up a lot of stuff, because my FAR was... No, not FAR. I took FAR the first time right before the COVID stuff hit, and then I took audit during the COVID stuff, and my audit exam was canceled, so I actually got lucky. Being down here in Florida, I got lucky that I was able to go find one that was still open, and they let me take it using the social distance stuff, so I passed that. But, I mean, talk about a stressful time to try and study with all this stuff going on. But yeah, I would say that the way I did it was not built to just keep failing them, because I was giving myself so much time. So I really was trying to get that, so I only had to take these once with the cushion, because I don't think I know anybody that passed all of them on their first try. I don't know many people that gave themselves 3 months between. I didn't study all 3 months, I should note. I did make sure to give myself a little bit of a break because this is grueling. For the last year and a half, I found myself not really being able to make many plans. Anytime any sporting events I wanted to go to, I'd say no. I can't go on any trips. I went up. I did a little trip in March right after I took, but before I got the grades for FAR. And then I did the same thing after passing audit, again, before I got the grades. So I gave myself a tiny bit of time to relax, and I think that's definitely needed, especially if you're working full-time. But you don't want to be doing this longer than you have to. So I would not recommend just willy-nilly taking these, because it's a 4-hour exam. And studying still takes a lot of time, even if you don't really do it as in depth as I do. If you're going to go through the lectures themselves take... let me see. I'm not sure how much they take. A lot. They take a long time. And I actually can tell you how much they take for FAR because I have a spreadsheet that I made, which I'll show you to get my laptop because I can't access it on this screen, but on this computer. But I did make a spreadsheet that kept me on track and it really helped. But it was a lot of time. I mean, just doing things based on the Becker estimate. Now with no extra review, you're looking at 212 hours for FAR, I believe was what it was. And that was including no extra study time. So like no reading through, no reviewing. But it was including, everything that you see on this page right here. Except for the exams. So add those exams in and you get a little bit extra. But it takes a long time, is all I'm saying, and you really want to go through and study it right the first time, so you're not wasting your time studying it a second time. The other thing that I did is I tried to give myself a schedule here, but the spreadsheet that I have kind of did that more. As you can see here, I took notes on every page, so I followed whatever note they put on the screen exactly. So every page of this book that they marked up is marked up. So it's a lot of writing. I paused the lectures, so they took even longer, because sometimes Peter Olinto likes to note a lot of stuff, which is good. He really walks you through it, holds your hand. His lectures take a long time to begin with, but then he also marks up stuff that you're going to have to pause it. The other guy, Tim Garrity, is the other main person, and he marks up a lot less, goes a lot quicker, but I found myself having to go over the material a little more. He might do a little more complex material though, so like I said, I'd be like, he's terrible, like I didn't learn anything in his, and then I passed the exam. So really just follow whatever they say. That's all I can tell you. They know what they're doing. You don't charge $4,000 for a study program if it doesn't work. And I've heard good things about Gleim, and there's another one too, maybe Roger, but I think Gleim is the other big one. That's the two that my company offered, Gleim and Becker. Gleim was cheaper, so I went with Becker because I wasn't paying for it. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know which one is actually better. I know people that passed using Gleim too. So I also added these little notes up at the top. Yeah, they didn't really do anything. These sticky things. I can tell you right now, I never read the book again. So they say mark it up. They say go through, mark it up, and then read it later. There were a couple chapters where I read it first and marked it up first, actually. Like went through their pre-annotated and marked it up first. And then I did the lectures just because I was like, it's going to take a lot to mark it up, so I'll do those first so I can follow on. But other than that, I didn't reread anything. I would refer to the book during some of the multiple choices, never during the practice exams, because you want to have that be, or the simulated exams, because you want to have those be 100% accurate. Those are your metric on how you are doing. If you use your book or if you use your notes during those exams, then they're worthless, because the Becker bump, as they call it, only works if you actually took the exam like it was a real exam. So you set yourself aside 4.5 hours. Don't get up in between exams. I guess you could. The timer keeps running, but treat it like you're actually an exam. No notes, no phone, no internet, no music. just the exam, and that will give you a great idea of how you are progressing. I didn't take any of the exams prior to finishing the lectures, so I took, or the actual program, I guess you should say, took them after it. I took one right after it, the first one. Then I would take one the week after, and then one the week before the exam. So that's probably how they tell you to do it in the book, in the schedule thing. I try not to leave too much time between the end of the actual book and the exam, because I did that the first time with FAR. I finished the lectures, was supposed to take the exam in January. Like I said, life happened, started a new job, trying to learn everything. And I think 2.5 months ended up going by. So I had been a long time since taking the lectures, and it wasn't enough just doing the review questions to keep me engaged. So, but I would definitely just recommend marking it up and doing the exams like they're actual exams. Yeah, like I said, I never read them, so I never reread the book. So if you're that person that needs to do it, I also didn't use the flashcard, so it might be the same type of person. I did, however, like I said, I wrote down my own cards. They're in a box somewhere or thrown away. They might have been thrown away. But I did write down special things that were necessary to know, and I actually had them taped all around my monitor. And underneath my desk, I actually wrote out an income statement for FAR at least, and just so I could, maybe pick it up through osmosis. See what else, which what's an example of something that I actually did write down on a card. Any of the mnemonics, I'll just say that. There's a bunch of mnemonics in all of the Becker stuff, but especially in FAR. So I would write down the mnemonics, which really helped me remember them and remember what they're for. With RAG, I remember the mnemonics, but I didn't really remember what they related to. So, but that was about the only thing that I did use the flashcards for, and then maybe any ratios or any other key points. And then the other thing to do for success, and I'm only going, I only have FAR out right now. You have all of these. I have all of the books, obviously. Actually, I don't have RAG because I lent it to a friend because his book had expired. Okay, there you go. This is good quality stuff. I did notice that actually. Reg and BEC, the books were fine. They didn't fall apart, but Audit and FAR both did. So I don't know if the later books are worse quality to look. So this is the final review, and this took a long time for FAR. It's saying it's probably still it's probably 18 hours, I want to say, in total. Not including doing all of the questions, but doing all the reviews and then the questions in there, and maybe even some of the questions, but not doing all of them. But so I did this the final week. I actually took the week off of work, and this is what I focused on, and as well as a practice exam. So I went through, did all of the lectures, and then answered all the questions. And I think that this final review is key. It's key because this covers the topics that you need to know high level. So if you can do well in this final review, if you're answering the questions as they're going along with them, including the sims, then you're probably in a good shape. So combine that with the practice exams, and you'll have a great idea of what you're actually how well equipped you are. This includes the software. It's not part of the website like the regular review course. This is a download, so you'll have to have a laptop to use it. I don't think the app lets you have it, so that was a little bit of an annoyance because, like I said, I can't access this on this computer. This is my work computer, and I can't download my own software on that, so I had to start using a different computer. And they don't do a very good job of telling you where it is. But if you look over here, so if you're on your main page, I think it's not there. It is. We gotta find it. It's under downloads. So I think they changed it actually, because I think there was a little arrow over here, but it looks like they do have it right here. So if you go down to the final, so that's how you do it. You just click that, go to the final review. It's all at the bottom. You just download it. It'll walk you right through the book, and that's what you do at the end. But yeah, so there might be a secret. There might be a shortcut. I'm not sure what it is. You could also get lucky. If you haven't started your timer yet, it might be worth it to chance it for the first one. I would recommend taking the FAR first, depending on how good you are with accounting. If you think you're an ace at accounting, then don't bother. Take BEC first, or take Reg first, or Audit first. If you don't think that those are going to be easier for you, for me, even though I am an accountant, the nitty gritty of FAR, which includes government and not for profit, which I never do. So for me, it was very challenging, especially being out of college for 8 years, I guess. 8 years at this point, I guess. So I definitely had the hardest time with FAR. So I wish I had taken it first, because it would have removed some of the anxiety of having to worry about that 18-month clock. But you might as well try. I mean, if the money, it's all about money too. I mean, you do want to spend $400 a time, or depending on your state, it could be cheaper, could be more. I don't know if it could be more expensive than 400, but do you care about the money? Because if you don't care about the money, you might as well try your first one with like I did with FAR and Reg. You might get lucky. Or if you ace it, you might feel like, oh, hey, I don't need to study as much as this idiot did on YouTube. But for me, there was no shortcut. Like once I failed FAR, the first time I really said I'm not gonna fail another one, because clock was ticking down, and I still studied a lot for that failure. So to study that much and still fail, it really it was not a good feeling. So yeah. So that's what I would recommend. If you're a normal person, I think FAR is the most challenging. It's by far the most material. There's 10 chapters versus 6 for everything, or 6 for. I don't think it's 6 for everything. I think Reg had more than that, but let me see here. Okay, I'll give them the status so you can see. So 10 chapters for FAR, 6 for Audit, 8 for Reg, 6 for BEC. So just by sheer amount of material, FAR is the hardest. And to me, it was the most challenging, because it's a lot of journal entries and knowing revenue recognition, which changed recently, obviously, as you know. But the journal entries are the things where, they give you, and they give you a bunch of accounts, and you're supposed to find them specifically. It's not hard, but it's just the minutia of it, and that's not the easiest thing to do on the fly under pressure, I think. But so that's why I would recommend taking FAR first. But again, if you think you're an ace at that, then I would postpone it and take one of the other ones. Take the most challenging one you think of first. You can take I wouldn't bother taking the practice exams. You haven't studied, because you're going to lose. You're going to do bad on it. But you could look at some of the material. If you think you know what's best for you, you could start it that way. But because you can access. So like when I say order the books first as you practice, I do mean that. But you have access to the entire software the second that you buy it. So you can go through and jump around and look at them if you want. I would just not recommend ordering the hard copy books until you're ready to focus on that, because like I said, they will change, and they do change all the time. There were course updates. I think that's probably what this was actually. Like they have content updates here. So, and this happens frequently. So you don't want to be constantly taping stuff into your book to make it updated, because that's not a recipe for success. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I thought was helpful for me. Another 71 is another 71.com was a very good forum. I didn't use it really. I didn't really ask any questions about individual questions or topics, because it's not. If you're not going to learn it, in my opinion, if you're not going to learn it from what they teach you in the book, you're just not going to learn it, because they do a very good job of explaining it, especially if you go over it again. But I did use another 71, as well as the Becker study group on Facebook, which I was also joined for each one of these exams. That's very active. It's a good place to get motivation, good place to ask some procedural questions, discuss score releases, stuff like that. And I mean, it's a good community to keep you keep pushing you towards passing all these. And that's really what it's all about. Obviously, the websites that you need to know are CPA Central.nasba.org, and then just NASBA.org, I guess. It's the candidate portal. So both of those are what you'll use to schedule your NTS and check your grades, your scores. NTSs have gone very quick. They have continuous testing now, so it's not like you have to take, which is nice. When I first started this, they were not continuous testing, so there was a big period where you couldn't take any, and you could only take the same. You couldn't take the same exam in the same quarter. You had to take it next quarter or next score period, whatever they call it. But now that's no longer the case, so they made it a little bit easier on that. I still wish they would do away with the 18-month window, because I think it's an arbitrary time limit that really makes this more challenging than it needs to be. I mean, if you want to add stress, that's all you do is add that time limit. And they know this. They know that people are working full time when they're going through this, but it doesn't change the fact that they keep it. They didn't even extend it past the year for COVID. So if I if I was not able to reschedule my exam, then I would have been in a much different position, because the test location that had canceled it had pushed everything off until September. So I just got lucky that another one had an opening. And I know that decision to extend it is based on where you're located, or I should say your jurisdiction. So like in my jurisdiction, which is New Jersey, they did not extend it. They extended it. They extended the NTSs and maybe scores, but they only extended them until September. So like I would have needed them to extend it next year. Like I said, it didn't matter, because I ended up being able to find a new exam. A new appointment to take that exam for the one they canceled. A couple days after they canceled it. But if they had pushed that significantly, that would have been a big challenge. So they're not here to make this easy for you, as I've found, and they want to keep this as prestigious and elite as possible. You have to really put in the time, and they know that, and they know. I don't know if that'll change, but at least for now, it's exclusive. And then the other thing to know is Prometric. I'm sorry, I've totally blanked on the name. Prometric is the other website that you'll need to know, and that'll be where you schedule your exams. But yeah, so just make sure you have the education requirements. If you're just starting out, make sure you have the education requirements to sit. I still need to pass a couple of classes to get the 150 hours to be licensed. But I specifically chose a jurisdiction in my case because I have no plans on practicing public. Like I have no plans on being a tax accountant for anybody. I chose a jurisdiction that let me set at the hours I had, which not all of them did. And there's no residency requirement for the state that I chose, and experience. I don't know if there's ever any experience to sit for it, but I had to pass that regardless. I've been working under CPAs for years, so yeah. But it's a doable process. I am no accounting ace by any means. My strengths are definitely finance and analysis. The CPA is not heavily structured around analysis, and it's certainly not structured around finance. Why would it be? So if I can pass it, you can pass it. Especially if you're an accounting major, you can do it. If you already took one and failed it, it's probably just because, as much as I hate to say it, you probably didn't study correctly. Like I said, you got to put in the time, and I'm not saying you didn't, but you got to put in the time and do it the right way. Go through it exactly as they say in the book. Take the notes, module by module, and then when you're taking the practice or simulated exams, actually treat them like tests. Don't cheat yourself by using the book or the notes or the website. Do it as if you're actually taking the exam, because it's a great feeling if you pass or, you know, get a 75 on a simulated exam, because I mean, you know, you say, you know, I'm in a good spot. I mean, it might be a bad feeling if you do badly on it, but no, there's the Becker bump. So, I mean, people are passing, people getting 60s, mid 60s on the simulated exams and passing with plenty of points to spare on the real ones. So, all I'm saying is, really, it boils down to do whatever they say. Do what the people you're paying to help you study tell you to do, and you'll get through this. But if you're like me, just don't expect to have a life for the next year and a half. But anyways, guys, I'll show you my spreadsheet right now. Okay, so I made this Google Sheets workbook. I did it so I could just easily check it off on my phone as I was filling stuff out. So you can see, I'm not sure why some of these are saying 0, because I did do them all, but there you go. What I did was I added in all of the minutes for the lecture, for the skills, MCQs, simulations, and then aggregated up to the total. I think there were, you can see 211 hours per Becker, and that was using the max for all of these. So I just used Becker's time estimates. So lectures were probably more than what they gave, because I would stop to, you know, fill out notes. But everything else was less. So like, say, you know, let's say, oh, it takes 105 hours for the MCQ. That's what Becker would say. Probably only take you 60 minutes. I'm sorry, 105 minutes, you know. But it probably only take you 60 minutes. You know, same thing with most of the sims. Some of the sims were pretty tough, but so this helped keep me on track. It really helped, because so say I had, you know, 20, let me see, what did I do here? I think I put, yeah, so I made it so you can put the test date. So that was my test date. So say we're taking the test 11/5/2020. That means that we'd have 19 days until the test. Means given the 1.6 hours I have left, we'd have to study 0.08 hours a day. I didn't incorporate on mine the exams. I did on one of my on my other sheets, but I decided not to. So I just added them in as a total time. So giving myself 4.5 hours a piece. I think they're either 4 or 4.5 hours. But so that really helped me keep everything in line. And I would try and budget out the time. I think I did it over about 65 days, maybe 69 days, something like that. Probably 69, I think, because it was about 10 weeks, maybe 9-10 weeks. What does that work out to be? Yeah, about that. So that means that all I did was I'd do it, and whatever the hours per day it told me to do is what I would do. And if I felt better some days, I'd do a little more, and that would take the hours per day down. It's just a good way to keep yourself on track. I'd highly recommend you building something out like this. I don't really know of a way I could share this. Maybe I could put it on create a copy of it and then put it in the description. I'll try that. I just don't, I don't want my personal stuff to somehow get into the hands of the internet, but I can try that. I'll look into that. But it's not that hard to build this out anyways. So you just do it as a percent, and then the minutes, and then you just type in how much percent you completed, and then you aggregate it together. And that's how you get it. So But I definitely recommend doing something like this to keep you on track. I think it's something that you need when you're dealing with so much data. And I did this for FAR. I did it with audit, and I did it with all of them. I did Google Sheets for FAR and audit as in depth as this. The other ones for Reg and BC were much more simple, just to keep me on track, just to like manually budget it. But yeah, so I just thought I'd show you this. I definitely recommend doing something like this just to keep yourself on track, because the Becker stuff is good, but it doesn't really help you visualize it. It just, I mean, and if you build a schedule like I did, which is really ambitious within Becker, and it says you have, you know, you're going to do a chapter every week or something like that, or more than a chapter a week. As soon as you're past that deadline, it just says you're not on target. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of useless. So it's not very motivating to me. So something like this worked a lot better. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed watching this very long video. I'm sure if you're already studying, I'm sure you look for everything you can do to procrastinate. Just know that you got this. Like I said, I'm not a accounting whiz. I studied a ton, and I put my life on hold while I was studying. But I was working full time, so I am working full time still. But I was doing full time, so it's not like I was just sitting there studying. But you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Just put in the effort. Make this your life. Make this your goal. It is the best feeling that you will ever have, probably. Certainly in my life so far, it's been the best feeling seeing that passing grade on my final exam, because all the effort. I mean, if I had this attitude that I had when I was doing the CPA exams back when I was in college, I would have been straight A student. You know, I mean, you think that was difficult, but it's not. It's like this is the crowning achievement, and you'll use this towards career advancement, and you'll be part of a select few. I think there's only 600,000 licensed CPAs in the country, maybe the world, but I think it was the country. For a country of 330 million people, that's pretty cool. So put in the effort, and you'll do it. Just trust in Becker, like I said, or whatever study guide you get. Use the forums, use the Facebook study groups for encouragement, motivation. Like I said, another 71. I didn't ask really any questions, because I didn't look for any shortcuts when I got these last two after failing FAR the first time. So I literally just said I'm doing everything, and I did everything. But if you want to try some shortcuts, or you want to see if you can, get any tips to not just study 100%, I would definitely recommend you go to the study groups for Becker on Facebook, or I'm assuming the other ones have it as well. And then also another71.com. That's a great forum where you can ask general questions about not only study topics, but also procedural questions about how you schedule an NTS and education requirements, stuff like that. So yeah, so I hope you liked this video, or at least found it useful. You got this.